Welcome to episode 131 of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Welcome back to everybody who's been listening. Welcome to all the new listeners. We have no time to late. So, you see, late on my mind. We have no time to waste because we done late already. I want to start by saying Happy International Women's Day. To all the women in my life who I love and hold so dearly, you know what I mean? Happy International Women's Day. I really didn't know it was International Women's Day till I get up and I see people talking about it on the gram and posting all the women in their life, and that's when I realized, because this thing slowly starting to become another one of them things. I just say, love every all the women in my life, but I see where this going. It started off as just another day that the UN started recognizing, like the International Day of the Child. Salute Bill Trotman. And now it's starting to turn into, if you post people on the gram and say a thing and how lucky he is to have them in your life, and you post all the women, if you ain't do that, it's a long face and a side eye, and you know certain man is do extra. only who doing extra, only making man like me look bad. I don't like it. Only doing too much. And then it goes start to turn into roses and a lack of appreciation if you're not showing physical appreciation and financial appreciation and so on. And from the roses and chocolate, then it's gift and it's jewelry and it's all. I see where they're going, but happy International Women's Day. I want to do my part as the orchestrator and producer of the Corey Shepherd podcast, whether I agree with the day or not, or whether the presenter or the talent agrees with the day or not, the brand must represent for women on International Women's Day. You know what I mean? That we must do that. The company now has to, well, you remember when International Secretaries Day was a thing, and then it's into administrative professionals, and then it's a basket of fruits, and then a spa day and a gift voucher. This is where the International Women's Day going on. But as a brand, despite my personal opinion on this, I would like to play the most fitting calypso ever written about women, particularly Trinidadian women. This is the greatest calypso written about women, and it is in all of your honor on International Women's Day. My gift to you, the truth.
I don't know why Elcina she put full terror. I don't know why Elcina she put full terror. Because day after day the woman was saying, she man named Henry Ford from the USA. I say who? She said the man makes a motor car. That is my man, he's a millionaire. He just give me money.
I don't take.
I say plenty money.
She say wait.
Money by the buckets because I love him, I won't take it. Don't if I tell you something, there you go ball. He does give me motor cars and all, and he watching me straight in the eye. Oh my lord, that woman could lie. She damn lie. I haven't a thing to give Elcina, but yet she says she loves terror. I said, darling, you can't fool me because no love without money. Men like Henry Ford and Paul Getty have money that they could full up the sea. So don't try to fool up my brain with life.
You know the woman kiss her cross and she starts to cry.
She say she gives money, I don't take. I say plenty money. She say wait. Money by the buckets because I ain't love them, I won't take it. Don't doubt me. If I tell you something, Sarah, you go ball. They just give me motor cars and all, and she watching me straight in the eye. Oh Lord, that woman could lie. She down lie. Last time I met Elcina at Shaka Cubana, she said this place belongs to me. Tara, do you love the scenery? I said yes, honey bun, I am proud and glad to know you're only nice portion of Trinidad. She said I can bring the receipt to show. I bought it from my Indian in Miaro. I have my own courthouse, did you know? I have in my own jail tomorrow. and I would never lie to you, dear. I'm the owner of Woodford Square. High-low supermarkets, all is mine. You can get your goods free anytime, and I'm going to the moon in July.
Oh my Lord, them woman could lie. They damn lie. Happy International Women's Day. Tara, thanks for telling the truth about this woman. Listen, I want to say salute again. One woman in my life was here this week is a lady by the name of Janelle Cash. You know what I mean? She was here this week. Welcome back to Trinidad. And some happy birthday greetings. I don't usually do this, but it's a special mention is necessary because my sister was back here and she came to celebrate her grandmother's birthday, who is turning 96 years old. Salute to Mama Doreen. I talk about a 96-year-old who going in bat suit and posing up on Instagram for her birthday. I talk about a 96-year-old, you can't get she no little fatigue and no little talking because she quick and she gain you back talking thing. And listen, it's a blessing to see 96 years and be in good health and strength. I want to say happy birthday as well to Papa. One of my grandfathers, 92 years old this week. And Papa, again, lucid as ever, had the opportunity to spend a night with him celebrating his 92nd birthday with his sisters, Auntie Barbara and Auntie Joyce, who are also joys to be around. Listen, when you're around people who've been on earth for so long, you just have to listen, you know. You ever been to somebody who see this thing spinning around a few times well? You just listen to them, you know, because nothing surprising to them, nothing overly shocking, because they've seen the cycle play out many, many times. And they have a certain amount of grace and calm and stories and just experience that you could learn from and apply at any part of your life. So salute to Mama Doreen and Papa on the 96th birthday and the 92nd birthday. And the last birthday shout out is to another person who's heading towards being a centurion as well. Charlie Nelson, at least 98 years old, at a minimum 98 years old, Charlie. But salute to Charlie on your birthday. And listen, before I move on to the substance of the week, I just want to say that if Justin Cash is listening, you're a grade hater. That's an inside joke, right? Sorry. So salute to them on their birthday. Reaching that age is a milestone that we should all acknowledge and hope that we could get there with grace. And I just want to let you know too, right? That if I ever start to reach up in them kind of age, I'm going to be a problem. I could tell all you now that I'll still be recording this podcast at 90-something years old, right? But I will be talking loose, you know what I mean? Only thing I'm frightened to say. When you see my mortgage pay off and thing, I'm saying anything about anybody because I'm watching a list of topics in front of me here where I wish I was Papa and Mama Doreen and them age so I could talk about these things freely, because everybody on my list here like to either take people to court or talk about them on social media and bring up all kind of thing about them. And neither of them I could take right now. I can't deal with them kind of thing. But we here, and I just can't wait to get to that age where I could let loose and say anything I feel. I'm going to be a problem, you know. Like if I reach 96 years old, I would be lying to all you, like in the middle of the birthday party, I would just play dead, like I just play and I get a stroke. You know what I mean? I get most amount of bad joke if I reach 90-something years old. But let me get to the substance of the day now. Let me get to the substance of the day. Where I want to start. It's a long time I ain't recording. I miss a whole bunch of things because I was doing carnival wrap up and all them kind of thing. Where we started? We started with Watson Duke. We getting this out of the way one time. These are the people I talk more who like court and things. I have a philosophy in this country. One of the ways to get wealthy is to educate yourself, get a nice job, get a nice pay and things, invest in real estate and them thing and elevate yourself. You could also start business. You could, you know what I mean? But one of the ways to get rich in this country is to stay in the court for your whole life, you know, just sue people and try and remain in court for as long as possible and work out deals with the lawyers. Once again, you're suing the government and them kind of thing. So what's new can these people is people that don't like to talk about too much, but I try to avoid it for a long time, and everybody say, you see, when Stacy tells me to talk about something, I know something wrong. So let me get into Watson, right? Let me go back to where this thing start now. I was on my merry way doing my work and thing, you know what I mean? When I have certain kind of work to do, I like to pull in a little Starbucks and get my work done, you know what I mean? Stay on top of things, make sure handing in my deliverables and all these nice things. You know, I'm a good employee, you know. And our Facebook notification came across my desk from none other than the great Burton Hinks, calling the old government name, sorry, Bert, telling me I had to watch this thing about Watson Duke doing a press conference, right? Now, When I see the thing, the first thing I say is, Bert, what you sending me thing that's how I want something for? You ought to send me the short version of this thing. Bert is like, Bob, just watch it. He said, just watch it. He said, you're not going to be able to stop watching it and it's not going to feel like an hour and something. Well, boy, so said, so done. The guy started taking that thing. And that is the greatest podcast I have seen. Boy, the man make everybody who doing podcasts look bad. Watson Duke should put out an hour every week and make we so life easy. Because that is the single most entertaining thing I've ever seen from anybody in the political life. I like a little train wreck. I'd admit to that I have a problem. I say this the last couple of weeks. This year starts off stressful for me. I tell myself I had to call a therapist and sit down and talk for a little while because this year starts off plenty more stressful than I anticipated. And maybe I avoided making that call a little bit. I had to make the call at some point. But when I look at the way that I feel or the time that I dedicate when there's a train wreck happening, I know they have some kind of dysfunction happening within me right now that I need to address with a therapist. A therapist is probably the only or the best way that I could deal with this kind of dysfunction. I would tell only some things that I'm watching on social media here non-stop, right? And it's not funny, right? I shouldn't be. I can't take my eyes off of NCW on them. I can't stop watching it. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is check NCW on TikTok. I admit it. I just can't stop watching it. That when I see a train wreck, I can't concentrate on nothing else for the rest of the day. Another one that's not funny at all is, I don't know if all you remember the name Selby Wilson. You should, right? If you're anywhere around my age, you'll remember that NAR had a minister by the name of Selby Wilson. If I'm not mistaken, what Selby Wilson was? Minister of Finance or something back in the day under Robinson? Selby Wilson might have been in the parliament when they had the coup as well. Let me see if I could find out real quick, right? And I'm not saying this for entertainment purposes, right? I'm really talking about myself and my own issue about watching a train wreck. All right, he was elected as a member for Point 14. He served as a minister in the Ministry of Finance. Yeah, he was finance back in the day. Or minister in the Ministry of Finance. So Selby Wilson was one of the big boys in the NAR back in the day. So Selby Wilson, right? But Selby Wilson have a son. I'm not going to tell you the name, right? I don't want you to end up like me, like just taking in the spectacle. But the youth is clearly maybe bipolar or something like that. And he's having public breakdowns. He's doing it all the time, and then he see him disappear for a while. I assume when he disappear, even based on what he said, it seems as though he's end up in St. Anne's. Or, you can't say St. Anne's. No, it's the madhouse, you can't say. He's end up in St. Anne's, and then come back out, and he's be okay for a while, and then he start going off. Now, the man is a very, like, he have songs he's put, right? He's a rapper. And I find the man raps very, very bad. And I could understand his frustration and nobody taking him on, but listen, it's bad. It's bad. Guys watch it all day long. Like, he's go live 4 or 5 times a day, just talking to people, telling people about his music and things. But this is clearly an episode, which I shouldn't be watching. There's nothing to take entertainment out of. But when you see a train wreck happening, I can't help it. I can't help it. I'll get the therapy, right? And I'll get the help. So Watson and them was one of these train wrecks because I am looking at this thing and I think to myself, what am I listening to right now? What is this? I thought watching Douglas Politics and watching Philip Alexander and them was bad when they start going on their rants and the tirades against Browley and everything, you know what I mean? That obsession. But I feel Watson take win, boy, because Watson definitely have a following, right? He was able to, they could say what they want about Farley and them, right? Watson was able to get a certain amount of attention in Tobago and turn that attention into political currency and parlay it into election win, basically, right? I ain't saying he wouldn't need Farley to do it, but it's up to him to identify who he needs to do it. That's what leadership and that's what winning in politics is about anyway. You got to put together your own team and come out on top. So salute to him for being able to do that. But when it comes down to this now, with Watson versus Kizell Jackson, or Watson with Kizell Jackson. I don't know if all you see this. If for those of you abroad, go and look up Watson Kizell, K-E-Z-E-L, right? It's bad. You must have seen this just before Carnival where a whole blow-up happened. And it turns out that Watson and his deputy political leader, a matter of fact, the only deputy political leader who stayed in the PDP after Farley and the whole debacle with the THA and all that, the only one who stayed with him, the man come out and say, she's a sex god. She's a sex demon. He say, when you see your term Kizell turn into a sex god. She turns into a sex demon. And I think to myself, well, listen, use the political leader. You openly say before that you want to become the prime minister of this country. And I don't have no doubts that every prime minister we ever had in this country, everybody in political life or whatever it is, or everybody in leadership went through issues like these before. Everybody's humans. People having a human experience, right, on this earth. But I kind of prefer my prime ministers and my presidents and my MPs and ministers and all these things. I prefer them a little bit measured in how they speak. Even if you're doing what you are doing in the background, or you're messy in it behind closed doors, that's not my concern. My assumption is that everybody messy behind closed doors. So I don't watch no priest as no different from no man in the street. Everybody have the issues, right? What I want to see in the people who I had a report to, or the people who leading me somewhere, I kind of want to see people be measured in their language, be diplomatic, present something. So lie. Like Tara say, lie and tell me things. Lie, keep lying. Just when you think and you wipe over your mouth and you close the door, come and talk to me nice. You know what I mean? I don't care what me and close doors. Just don't make this. So when I reach about 10 minutes into the thing, I say, yeah, she turned sex go and my piggy can't me. I said, what piggy? How piggy reaching political? I don't understand. That shouldn't. At no point you and say, well, boy, maybe I shouldn't say this like this. You remember Bill Clinton? He had a similar issue like this, you know what I mean? He have a wife and he had a Lewinsky situation and thing, and the man used proper political leadership language. Not to my recollection, I did not have sexual relations with her. He said, making sex go. I just find it was a whole lot of, Kizal, I don't want to post that. Why we had to be listening to this kind of thing from somebody who wants to be a political leader? But what I will say is that the podcast was very, very entertaining. I'll say that Watson Duke continues to be a very, very entertaining guy as a whole. When anything he do is a spectacle and a train wreck. It worth watching and it worth listening to. So after he come out and say everything he say about Kizel, so if you didn't know, he basically say that he had intimate relations with Kizel and Kizel forced herself on him. And because he was on a rape charge, he couldn't refuse. He couldn't refuse while he was on a rape charge, because if you refuse, and listen to the logic, right? There's a man who going to lead the country. He going to be in charge of the treasury, in charge of international relations and all these things. His logic and reasoning was that if she make an advance and I refuse, and she call rape, I done on a rape charge, and I will go down. Them fellas could lie. The damn lie. But it went on for a while. It seemed as though he didn't like it no more. But listen, it's not a nice thing. Let me talk to the woman. I'll let you know. Come back in 5 minutes, right? When you see it with a woman, right? And you're fed up with a woman for whatever reason. Sometimes you like them bad, you know. Sometimes you don't like them bad in the beginning. But and sometimes it's not nothing they do, you know. It's not that they do something to turn you off, and you sometimes you doesn't like them again. I don't know how to explain this to women, fellas. I don't know how always explain it and what you do and them kind of thing, but sometimes you just don't like them again. I didn't like you as much as I thought in the beginning. It's nothing to do with the woman and the way she is. But women is always take it that is something about them. Or they always feel like you find somebody better. So who it is thing. And it's not who I don't like you no more. I don't like you. I don't want to kiss. I don't like you again. It just happened. Right? And it's hard to explain. And if you realize you don't like a woman again, you don't want to be with that woman again, all hell could break loose. All hell could break loose with that woman, because it's mayhem. Like some of them, you just can't leave them. And Kizel seemed to be. You had to watch the press conference or go on what's just to hear how he's pronounced Kizel. He's pronounced it sweet, you know. He said Kizel. He said Kizel done it freak. You know? So Kizel seems to be one of them women. You can't leave she. You can't refuse if you're on a rape charge. And then when it's time and you're done and you don't like no more, you cannot refuse. But a woman tell me back in the day, right? I used to wonder, like, how these girls get so attached to me and all them things. And a woman break it down for me, and a woman who was more mature than me, you know what I mean? Charlene and them age. She was telling me that she said, when you living, right, and you want to treat a woman nice, you carrying them out to eat, you had them sleeping by you every night, you're waking up, you're making breakfast home, and everything, you're talking to them whole day. And she said, you sending the wrong signal. You sending married signal when it's a pass through. And listen, it makes sense to me at the time, you know, because I was like, okay, I could see what you're saying, but I was talking to my partner Colonel at the time. Both of us was talking about it, and I am. That's just me. If I go in and eat something, I always remember a woman used to tell me that she had a boyfriend, right? And she said when the boyfriend come in to check her, she used to watch through the window upstairs. And she said when he walking down the street, he used to be eating down all the kiss cake and sucking down his supplement and thing, wherever anything he buy, he used to eat off quick, and finish through one thing before he reached by the bell and ring the gate, before he beat the gate and ring the bell. But I don't live so. If I have a burger and I have 2 people in the room, you have to eat a half a burger. If it's 4 people in the room, it's a quarter, man. That's how I always live with man and woman. So me, I realize I sending wrong signals by carrying people Jenny's, and if I go in Jenny's, we go in Jenny's. If I can't make the Jenny's price, we go in Burger King. That was all. I live like that up to today. So I didn't know. And Watson might do well to take some of that advice too, because the woman say how Watson gets so sweet that he decided that she and the husband was done, but like they was living together still. And the reason they was living together still is because Watson, the husband wanted the roof fixed. And he was 70,000. Watson just squeeze off that 70,000 quick. He squeezed off that 70,000 quick. Salute to Watson. And fix the man roof so that he could go from there so he could get Kizel to himself. You know what I mean? You can't be that. But Kizel having she's another one of them. It's similar to the same thing I'm watching with Selby Wilson's son, which again is not funny, but I can't take my eyes off of it. And it's the same thing with Kizel and them. When Kizel go live, I don't work for the day. I want to see what she had to say, because she is, I don't know what mental breakdown this look like, but it looking like that is what Kizel going through. Because one day she go on live, she in the woods, in the wilderness, with prayers, and you see anybody who start a prayer, right? And in the middle of the prayer, it's no invocation, it's no deep spirituality, it's no silence. But in the middle of the prayer, it's not a rabasanda, I don't believe that. I don't believe in that. That's all. Where did rabasanda come in? And she is in the wilderness. And I think everybody on social media was asking the same question, and everybody else was wondering, like, who is the cameraman? At no point in time, the man who filmed that said, Kizel, let me come out, let me go from here. This ain't making sense. Wait is you doing? But she was going on and on about God and God punishing her and God violating the worst of ways. And listen, it's just a whole lot to see. But soon after the heels of that, you see the nudes come out and it's a sex tape. And that is the part of it I don't like, And that's why I was avoiding talking about this in the first place, because I find it was funny up till that point, to be honest with you. Again, sorry, I like a train wreck. You know what I mean? It's good to see. I feel it's a way of realizing that the things you're dealing with or my own life, okay, by watching other people go up in flames. You know what I mean? It's something else to see. And listen, these people ain't going up in no flames because them going on with their life as normal after this. I wonder if something like this happened to me, how I come in and function the next day to go and talk to people and come up. But they seem to have no issue with this. But one day seeing Kizel in the woods doing thing. Next day she dancing. You should have leave the people them, man. The next day, is she giving away thing to help people with their house and thing and doing her normal. She does a lot of that. She used to do a lot of that before anyway. And she continuing to do that and publicize it. Next day she in a man place cussing the government how they ain't helping the man. Then I see she with a snake. But I didn't like, to be honest with you, I didn't like the sex tape part and the revenge porn part. And I mean, her accusation, of course, is that Watson Duke releasing her sex tapes, which she sent legal letters to that end, and it seemed to be intending to take him to court on that and that kind of thing. I find she should. I always remember that, a case back in the day with Lendl Simmons where he was releasing somebody nudes or whatsoever it was, and he lost the case and the woman got a settlement. I find that is fair. If it's proven that you're doing that, I mean, what we're doing that for? I find it such a nice thing when a woman send you for some little entertainment. You know what I mean? You get a little entertainment, a little live food. That's such a nice thing of a woman to do. Let me tell you something about me, right? I don't know if it's a self-esteem thing or what. Right? Every now and again, I just watch myself in the mirror and I just wonder, what is going wrong with my wife? What going on with a woman in this life? Like, what it is a woman could watch when I watch in the mirror? They say, but you put yourself for that? You put yourself there. I don't understand it at all. Every time I watch myself in the mirror, I say, boy, something wrong with the woman. Yes, a good woman, smelling nice and clean. Me inside the bed clean since until I reach about 35. I started bed clean. Up to the last year, I brush my teeth once a week. Teeth missing. You know, it's just like what is a woman is seeing a man to say you gonna put yourself with a man. So I guess because of that, maybe it's self-esteem thing. But because of that, I just be so grateful for a little slice. I don't deserve nothing. I don't know about you. I don't know how all this feel. All the women not supposed to be listening to this part, right? I will tell all the women to come back here. But I don't know how all the fellas feel about woman and things. Some man feel it's God gift to woman and things. No, me don't feel so. Every time I come out of the bathroom and watch in the mirror, I just say, boy, my wife, this woman, she has some issues. To sleep with that every night, that can't be right. They ain't good at all. So I just be so grateful when somebody say, boy, take a little piece, you know what I mean? Don't hold a little portion for yourself. This is your portion. You hold that, man. That's for you. I bring that for you. Something for you here. Hold it. I like that. I just be grateful to the point where I say, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate what you're doing for me right now. I like that. Or you and a woman thing, only have a little thing going on, and she decide to send you a little entertainment, a little video, a little picture, something, you know what I mean, for a little live food. Make you feel nice. Who don't like that? So I'm so glad. I say thank you very much. I really appreciate this. I really appreciate what you're doing for me right now. Sometimes I leave a little tip and all, you know what I mean? So the thing about it is when you get these kind of treatment, you all right, so you was on a rape charge and you decide you go think because you don't want to further I don't even know how to describe this. You don't want to get yourself in another rape situation. So you decide to go have sex with the woman. That's a good way to avoid that, right? How it could reach to the point now where you feel comfortable doing these kind of things. You know what I mean? I always remember Dave Chappelle had a special. And Dave Chappelle's special, right? And if you know me, you know that Dave Chappelle is one of the greatest of all time to me. And not just comedy, but storytelling and everything. Dave Chappelle went out there and gave away the punchline before he started the joke. It's one of the greatest things I ever see in a comedy special, you know. He tell them, he say, listen, I'm so good at comedy that I'm going to tell all you what the punchline is and all is still going to laugh. Anybody who ever mess up a joke or try to tell a joke amongst people and you mess up one of the words in the joke could fall flat, right? So worse again if you give away the punchline, because the punchline is about a little surprise, a little thing you didn't expect coming, a little connection you didn't see and thing. So on Dave Chappelle, punchline, if you all remember, he ends the joke by saying, and I kicked her in the what's in the words, right? So my mother listening. He kicked her in the, and I see that come to pass. I see that come to pass. The same Dave Chappelle joke, but we kick Watson gets. So Watson, in all the sex god and thing, this is the kind of things. Although when you see a video of a foot, you don't know who foot it is, right? In fairness, let me not say nothing to get Sue here, but you don't know who foot it is, but all these kind of things a woman doing for you. What is that again to release thing about and thing? And it's clear that you have no issues with your wife because going back to the Lendl Simmons thing, one of the arguments back in Lendl Simmons days was that was my little side thing, and then she started to call my wife and it caused that thing, so I released the thing. That is not justification for that, right? But if the woman started to call your wife and thing, you and all go get your household mashing up, and there's plenty to deal with. And if Lendl Simmons in his younger days felt like that was the right thing to do, I'm sure he learned his lesson back then, right? But Watson don't seem to have them problems, because if Kezel call his wife, Watson say, if I feel to a woman, I have a woman. I'm a wife. Watson went as far as to sing to your wife and them kind of things. You know, instead of playing the terror in the beginning, I really should have played that song Watson sing to your wife. Such a touching tribute. You know what I mean? And it gave me flashbacks to Derek Jackson and his wife back in the day. And I mean, Watson there to tell Watson's wife, well, blink if you're alright. You know what I mean? If you're alright, blink twice, because it's ain't looking like she always look like she 100% present. You know what I mean? She'd always look like she absolutely there at the time. So I mean, that's where we are with Watson. I'm only continuing to follow this because I was done with this story when I see the thing, and I like the idea of degrading people. That's a rough thing. I mean, that had to be real hard for a woman to go through and see them things and see private thing become public and all of it. Somebody who you trust and you love, she says she doesn't love with Watson and them kind of thing. I mean, only behave all yourself now, man. Well, you're too big for that. Well, behave all yourself. You know what I mean? I talk to them like children. Only behave all yourself now, man. Have some behavior. What the hell wrong with all y'all making this whole thing public? And then both only coming back for public life. So I don't know if the PDP is still a thing. The whole of Tobago pull out from that. I shouldn't say pull out. The whole of Tobago pull out from that. That's Farley and the squad. They seem to be, well, I know they had registered a party, so they're going on their own from now. They will be best served to go on their own. I also want to salute the political directorate in the country, from Farley to the opposition leader to the prime minister. Farley take a little laugh at it and them kind of thing, but I'm kind of glad none of them said anything about it or make this entire thing or put any more light on it. And somebody who I know who is better, I usually turn to him for understanding what happened in the politics, because I don't understand politicking and the whole thing. And he was saying, well, none of them will respond because once they see you go up in flames, they're going to let you continue to burn. So that's just one less enemy or one less ally according to what side of the fence you're on. So he was kind of telling me that is why none of them would respond. But I admire Farley avoiding that topic a little bit. He laughed and he laughed. I mean, it's part of the culture and the fatigue and thing. But I like Farley. I like Farley. Farley's a young person that I think I don't understand or would not claim to understand what are the issues in Tobago. And but he does seem to have something to offer. And a part of what I like about him more than anything else is he seems to stay above the mud a lot of the times. Because this is not the first time we had major issues. I remember him getting a little aggressive with Faris when he first went in, which I find was weird. But I think he probably had to play the game he had to play for Tobago anyway. But I want to see more politicians stay out of the mud. Like when things going on, just don't comment on it. You shouldn't bring yourself down to this level. But if it is that they don't comment on it because they see it as he ending himself, or they don't see him as a worthy enough opponent to shed any additional light on. Because I remember when Anil Roberts had the Room 201 thing, it was bandied about in Parliament and on the campaign trail. Somebody else was also telling me maybe nobody in doing town meetings now or any political campaigning or anything, so they know Watson to study. But Watson has moved on. Watson in talking about that again. Kizel still every now and again you'll see her talking about it a little bit, but Watson definitely moved on. And he's moved on to wanting to run us for the mayor of Port of Spain. And his words on the morning show was that he's running for the mayor with aggression. I don't know why he say aggression so much and so aggressive in itself, but what the aggression there for or to help. But it seems as though his ambitions for Tobago are at least put aside for now. His ambitions for running for all 30, how much seats we have? 41. His ambitions for running for all 41 seats, as he said he would do many, many times, starting with downtown, but somewhere in Port of Spain. Is it Port of Spain South or is it Lavantil West or whichever one he said he was going to run for first? That seemed to be on pause a little bit as he focuses his eyes on the mayor of Port of Spain's seat. I think that is now held by Joel Martinez. Yeah, Joel Martinez is the current mayor. So Watson seems to want to become the mayor of Port of Spain now. And in his first move as mayor candidate, he locked himself and barricaded himself into HDC downtown, really fighting for somebody who on pause and getting a long story about getting a house. So I guess that's his first move of aggression. Salute to Watson Duke. We'll continue to watch his journey towards the mayor. I am very interested in hearing more about what is going to happen with the PDP as a party. Is it still a political party? Does it exist? I would assume now that you have no executive members after Kizel. You know what I mean? Kizel out of it had to be. I doubt she going back there at this point in time. Your roof done fix. You're back with your husband. Well, the part where she says she catch Watson with a man. Why the woman is do that? Why don't they get vexed? It's always small. It can turn up. Or is there a man? Why the women do that? But I doubt Kizel going back there, and that's pretty much the end of the PDP executive as a whole. So is he going for new executive membership? Is he preparing himself for 2024 or 2025 election? I'm not sure, but that's something that we will definitely continue to follow because, as I said, one of my toxic traits is watching train wrecks. You know, from trains to planes. Well, you see Pandey and Ishwagal dancing and everybody get off. Hey, listen, nobody couldn't possibly be surprised by this, right? This is something that was in the making for a long time, and it's hard for me to understand some of this because the DPP basically came out and said that the case is dropped because there's very little chance of getting a conviction against Basdeo and Umar Pandey, Ishra Galbaran Singh, and Carlos John. And let me just read from the Newsday. What was the Newsday saying here? This is from Jada Lautu in the Newsday. DPP Roger Gaspard has withdrawn decades-old corruption case against former Prime Minister Basdeo Pandey and his wife, Carlos John and Ishra Galbaran Singh. The latest development took place on Monday, where the matter was expected to go to trial before Magistrate Adia Mohammed. Gaspard admitted anticipating the prosecution would face a real difficulty in achieving a fair prospect of conviction if the trial proceeded. The state's throwing in of the towel came on the same day the multi-million-dollar forfeiture jury trial against the state's throwing in of the towel came on the same day the multi-million-dollar forfeiture jury trial against several of the Piaco defendants started in a Miami court. So, the one case started in Miami related to the same airport, and this was thrown out on the same day. And I remember if the company name was something with a Sun. Them fellas and them done serve the conviction for that already. Let me see Trinidad Airport. I'm not seeing it coming up. I'll remember it at some point while we're recording here. But I remember the guys who were associated with this had stand trial, and most of them would have do their time and come out already. But one of the issues that the DPP was facing here is that some of the witnesses passed away. Some are very, very old and dealing with illnesses and living abroad and all those things. So he was basically saying, listen, this ain't making sense going forward with this because we're not going to get a conviction. The part that confuses me about the court system and all that is they say other matters still alive. At that time, Gaspard said he also felt constrained to advise citizens the ruling by the Judicial Committee does not pertain to other matters which fall outside of those that compromise Piaco 1. That part always confuses me. So they're basically saying that they're throwing out this, but it doesn't bias or prejudice any other matters that arise where this is concerned. So he basically could pursue other parts of this case or other accusations. I'm always confused as to what that means, because if it is just saying that you're throwing this out, but they have other matters that you could continue to pursue, how is it different? Like what is not? Wouldn't it be the same set of witnesses, and what is there to prosecute? Or is it that you're going to stretch that out too and then come and say that that part of it thrown out too? And this is what I was saying in the beginning. No, sometimes I just wonder if it's not in the best interest of people in this country to keep matters in the court forever and ever. I will say about this matter on the whole, right, that I expected this to be the case. I was actually very surprised that Pandey spent any time in jail at all, because the PNM came back in after Pandey lost his early 2000s kind of thing. And they say they have evidence and all this kind of thing. I hear the same thing about Rudal Munilal and Kamla and them. They say they had all kind of evidence about wrongdoing and them things. And them things ain't going nowhere. So I just feel like if it's just to, you remember my wrestling theory, right? I just feel like it's just to stay in court forever and ever and milk some of the court money, especially when you could get the government money to pay for the court case. And you know what I mean? Millions of dollars going into that. Public money into private pockets. Remember that theory, right? That's all it's about. And the biggest issue here is not the accused, it's not the airport, it's not the government taking. The biggest issue here is that these charges were laid in 2005, and now we're in 2023, and the case is dismissed. My maths isn't so good, but I'm looking like it's approaching 20 years to get a case tried, right? The issue is this, and I'm not sure what this does for extradition either, because I remember that one of the issues with Ish and them was they were facing extradition charges to go and face that same matter that the Sun people deal with years ago related to the airport, right? But anytime you have a judicial system that could take 20 years to try any kind of case, you have a problem where justice is concerned. So the statement that justice delayed is justice denied is a real thing and is very relevant to this case, because put it this way, let me assume Pandey ish everybody guilty. Take your PNM or hat off for a minute, right? Take your PNM hat off for a minute, because I know the PNM in here, You well know these people were wicked and they thief every cent out of the airport and the toilet and them couldn't flush and the ceiling was falling down and you couldn't hear announcement in the atrium. I know the PNM and you is remembering all these things, right? But take off your PNM hat for a minute and picture a world where all of them were innocent. They basically built an airport and things went wrong and they had cost overruns, but that is not uncommon in public projects. But these people are very loyal and honest people, loyal to the country and its goals, and very, very honest people who would not steal a cent, like people like Pandey. Like Pandey could thief anything. If that might be the case, right? So I gone in there and I do everything right where the airport is concerned, but I made some blunders, let's say, or had some cost overruns or some unforeseen circumstances, and now something that was supposed to cost me $1 million cost me 10 million. Is it that me, who is innocent, can be just accused and taken to court, and then 20 years is when it takes to clear my name? I don't think that's right at all, because it means that the government of the day could basically assassinate the political life of the enemies just by taking them to court and making accusations. Now, I know you can't make accusations out of nothing, but you have to remember something that look bad. Something that look bad, and it doesn't always be bad. Always remember the movie Vantage Point. Use Vantage Point as an example, right? Sometimes things look bad, and you might well have accusations of me. And if you have accusations of me and it look bad and I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, I say by all means, send me the letter and let me come to court and defend myself. But let me wrap this up in 6 months now. Let me wrap this up in 2 weeks, so that when you accuse me and I get off, the issue still fresh in the mind of the people, so I could come out and say, look, this wasn't nothing. They're accusing me of thing. Or if you want to send me to court every other week, do that. And let me come out every other week and prove my innocence, so that eventually it will be seen that you're trying to persecute me. The public will say, but what are you doing, the man is clearly innocent. You know what I mean? Just like Pandey. You're clearly innocent. Your fellas will never thief or never do nothing wrong. So all they carry the man to court for every day and make it not in their best interest to tie me up in court forever. I think to do any day coming on. If you have me in court right through, you're destroying my ability to advance myself, but you're also mashing up my public image. I have a real issue with that. So we had to be able to fix that judiciary and fix that judicial system to make sure that it's quick time. It's either brought to justice or proven innocent, so I could get back on the campaign trail. Because once you have them kind of accusations or in the court, unless it's Watson Duke, you're gonna be it for you. You're not gonna be able to run in the same way, especially with the two major political parties. You're probably gonna lose your internal election based on those charges, and then you could be proven innocent like Opande, and then proven, or not innocent, but not guilty after X amount of years. That's something that we had to clean up and make sure that does not continue to be the case. But I mean, what do you think? That will clean up at some point soon? I know, but salute to Pandey. I'm glad the man free. I'd like to see old people lock up. Pandey's too old to be locked up and going to court and facing charges and all them kind of thing. I find statute of limitations are also done when you reach Papa and Mama Doreen and Charlene and them age and thing. You can't be going to court and all that. That is it. It's a wrap. Like, I always watch the movie The Irishman, right? I'm not saying that when you do wrong, right? But when you watch The Irishman in the end of the movie, where them was old and decrepit and in jail and they can't hear and people pushing them in wheelchairs, I think to myself, what punishment it could possibly have for these men again? That ship sail. That is all harmless men now. But I mean, it is what it is. So that's one that I want to continue to watch as well, because I want to see what happens with this. What's happening in Miami, or the overseas portion of this case, or what's happening in the States with this case. And the DPP seems to still think that they have things that they could take them up on. So I want to see how that goes. As far as I'm concerned, it's just about tying up the court system, remain in court as long as possible, little lawyers and then get a little public funds, you know what I mean? If the government paying bills, that could circulate and feed a lot of people. So, just a random thought, right? As I talk about feeding people, I was passing through Shogunas the other day and I realized bakery treats closed down. I just want to salute that. Sorry, yeah? I tell you, I like a train wreck, you know. All in our bakery treats that right close to Price Plaza. If anybody knows Shogunas area, it's a place named Bakery Treats. Or if you had time, just pull up Bakery Treats on Facebook, Bakery Treats Shogunas, and watch how much people used to complain about that place and the quality of their products and stuff. And I always remember when I first moved into Shogunas. And I'm a bakery guy, I'm a coffee and pastry guy all day long. Don't let my trainer hear that, right? But I always remember being like in and around Price Plaza having meetings, and I come down to check the little construction site and them thing, and I saw that back and forth, and Bakery Street was a convenient place that looked like you could pop in and get some sausage roll and a little coffee or whatever at the time. And I can tell you this, right? Nothing in bakery treats never tastes good. I don't like bad talking people business. But I had to be honest. I don't know anybody who ever had anything in bakery treats that tastes good. But it used to have people used to be pulling up there all the time. But like that's the end. And then there used to be that was the original social media gangster, because when you put a post about it on social media, first they're blocking and deleting any comments that negative, and they answering you back like the owner, the lady. Especially when you make cake orders from her. I remember people saying when they get the cake's stale on the inside. And I mean, if it's a special order cake, like why would that be stale if it's a customized thing, you know what I mean? But they finally closed down, and for all the years on top, it ain't looking like they're on top there no more. I don't know what was keeping them on top. I don't know if they're still taking cake orders. But it kind of shows you the power of social media, like in today's world where you have direct access to not just a company, but the customer base of that company, right? When a company do something you don't like, you have that direct backlash that they could face. And we saw it on the road this year. We were talking about Tribe, and Tribe typically, I mean, my one experience with Tribe is that they're pretty well organized, and that's what they trade on, right? A big part of their brand is the customer experience or the masquerader experience, from collecting all the way to last lap and after party and now last jam. Like they do a lot for the masqueraders and creating the experience. And their bands would be Hearts, Tribe, Lost Tribe, Bliss, Rogue. Am I missing anybody? That's their squad, right? So every band that you hear people playing, they always talk about Tribe level of customer service. And unfortunately, this time they didn't live up to that. And I saw that they came out and apologized. And people tell me last week, I do a whole carnival wrap up, and you ain't talk about Marshall. They say, all the time you talk about Marshall is the greatest, and as Marshall concert thing, and people complaining about it, all of a sudden you do a carnival wrap up and you forget to talk about Marshall. I am not a young man. As a man is forget. As a man is forget things. I recording every weekend, so what I forget last week, I go talk about this week, right? So I was not avoiding the Marshall Montano topic, Mr. Jason. I just really forget to talk about, and I had it written down in front of me. So let me take 5 minutes and deal. I know it lent. I don't want to hear too much about calypso and soca. You're trying to cleanse all yourself of all these sinful ways during the carnival. But let me talk about Marshall a little bit now. Marshall had his show, the one show that was touted so much and teased a lot because when he pulled up in Skinny Fabulous little performance, or he pulled up in St. Mary's, he was like, I am performing because it's one show and one. So, I mean, the one show, of course, it sold out, and all the different levels and all the tiers, platinum and all them things sold out. And to me, that was always going to be the case. The Soca Monarch people pull out, of course. I don't know how much people they would attract on a night when Marshall is doing the only performance of the season. A few people had asked me, even in YouTube comments, people are asking me about Carnival as a whole. And like I said last week, I find Carnival was good. I find it was a little bit flat. And I honestly feel like one of the reasons the Carnival was that flat for me was the music. I don't think they had the music. They didn't have enough big songs or crescendo points to look up to in the Carnival. It had a lot of okay music that was just decent, and there was not enough high points. And I think that our music, we had to start to see as a spectrum, right? And I hear Marshall talk about this on Red 96.7 once, where he was saying that he have a ground game. He was talking about, he have a song that giving people the opportunity to chip. And he was talking about, na, 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 dip in the water. He was saying that's a ground game. That's what he's released early in the season. That's basically for you to chip and them kind of thing. And then you have a jump shot, which is a jump up thing. And he was breaking down how he puts out his, I think it was 8 songs for the season at the time, right? And I'm feeling like this year was a year where we had a lot of good songs. I don't even want to call them average or mediocre. The songs was all right. It was pretty decent songs in the year. But it had no kind of anthems for the Carnival. The Engine Room come through in the end as a real anthem. And I mean that ding dong drink and party, I get fed up with it, but it's not a particularly melodious song that think of an advertisement, right? Drink and party is like an ad. Where you hear ad often enough, you're gonna stick in your head or like a jingle. It's gonna stick in your head, but it's not like it's something you would want to tune in to hear. It's just a jingle. It have no musical substance to it. That's hard to explain, right? I hope it's making sense, but it's just like a jingle. A drink and party all day. It's like a nursery rhyme-ish. If it will stick in your head on a good, I'm belittling the song on it, but it's not a great song. Engine Room had a little more of that value, which again you will hit out of the whole year for Carnival, right? Engine Room is one of the few songs that will be played for many, many, many years. Most of these songs that were played this year will be forgotten. So what will happen is next year Carnival, when the complainers talking about old music, they're going to be even older than this year. There's very few songs going to survive. That Bungie Hard Fat will make it. Nyla and them will make it. Engine Room will make it. And I struggle to think of any other songs that have a lot of replay value outside of this year. It just wasn't that great. And I feel like that was part of the reason it was a little flat. And there was no mid-range game, if you want to call it that, where they have decent songs that's good and you could hold on to. And then the power songs was two or maybe three. Like Yourself, maybe. And the Destra and Marshall, I don't find is that bad either. I'm surprised that Destra and Marshall didn't pick up more. But I feel a part of it is because he was not performing. So he got to the Friday night and they performed. And the first thing you see coming out the Friday night was long lines outside the stadium. Like if Trinidad playing football in the stadium, you used to see them thing back in the day. And somebody was asking me that too, like Marshall, all that thing. I talk about Marshall and me going to show. Listen, I was never going that. Me, I too old for that. I'm not going and sit. I can't stand up for so long. I don't want to hear no Afrobeats on a Carnival Friday. Not me. That is not for me. No, and that's something I could see why people would complain about how long they line up for. But I don't understand people who's complaining about Marshall not giving you drinks in Platinum or not giving you food. He been doing this more than a decade now, It's about 15 years Marshall having whatever version of this show. And you have to play Platinum, VIP or whatever. I don't even understand how it has so much tiers of VIPness. But did I say VIPness? That's my new term for the year. I don't know so much of VIPness here, you know what I mean? But you're not going. I was surprised the first year I went to Marshall show and had to pay for bacon shack. And I was shocked with the price of the ticket, but they ain't gonna shock me a second time. And I guess it's a new people coming out in the world every day, right? So you must remember that my experience is not everybody own. But I mean, now it's pretty clear when you pay for that ticket, that is not what you're getting. And Marshall is putting I think he's known for putting on a high quality show and production. I don't really like it because I don't find it's not Carnival like to me. As I always say, I was living in Jamaica, and my partners as good fellas. They always used to make sure they had tickets for me to go places when I come back. And Marshall Monday was one of them places, and I used to feel like I was wasting a fete night. I would rather be in P&M fete, like fetting, because you see the performing and watching you perform and thing. I don't know. One year glad I was there was the year when Minshall did the whole production, because it was like a 3-hour long musical. And it was smooth, and Minshall put on a show for Marshall that year, and it was really almost like a anthology, is the right word, where you looked at Marshall from coming out from a little boy to when he get to be an old man today. I can't remember what was the name of it, but in my mind, you could only do that once, unless you make that a touring show like Lion King. If you do that once, I could, and I don't know that I go in and see that multiple times. And I felt like Marshall Monday was one of them things. I just find it boring. I don't mind hearing Marshall perform whole night, but on a Carnival Friday, I don't want to hear Cutty Ranks. I don't want to hear Shaggy. I don't want to hear maybe I don't want to hear Chinese Laundry and Signal to Noise do a song clash. I certainly don't want to hear no sort of depressing Afrobeats music. I find that, again, sorry, I very African and them thinking, but you see what it's like, I'm gonna go home and cry, yo. I feel like I want to die, yo. I don't like that music. I wanna hear soca. I want to jam people. Or at least I like the image in my mind of jamming people. Carnival Friday is upness time, is upbeat music. I don't want to hear that. So I was a little surprised at people complaining that the Afrobeats thing was a little flaw. Well, they didn't know all it was paying to go. But all in all, they had several organization related issues. And it made for it not being a very good show. So Marshall came out and apologized. And it says, on behalf of J Upscale, Monk Music, and Marshall Montano, collaborators of One Show at the Hazley Crawford Stadium, we'd like to sincerely apologize for the late start and the challenges to get through the gates on Carnival Friday. We know that you expect the highest standards from us. No. Hold on. It's not that we expect the highest standards from you. You charge for the highest standards, my brother. You charging people for the highest standards. You make the expectation what it is. It's not like people coming in there and saying like, I look forward to this great show that I expect these things. It's the price. You create this hype about the one show. You separate yourself from the whole carnival, making yourself the best thing ever. You pull out from Brass Festival. You tell me, use the best and again, we alternative concert. You take the Monday for yourself as Marshall Monday and keep your own show. A matter of fact, even before that, as a band leader, you, if I remember right, was the first lead singer in a band to decide that you're not singing or playing nobody else's music. You only singing or playing your music, right? So you set your own high expectation. But anyway, and you fell short of what we've been doing over the years. I find it's the same thing he was doing over the years because no, I will admit, right, that a late start is not something that Marshall is known for. I remember going to the thing one time, the Marshall Monday, and while we were in the car driving down, there was a countdown. I can't remember if it was on an app or if it was on the radio or what they were doing, but there was a countdown. So if the show was to start at 8 o'clock, there was a big clock somewhere. Like I remember in that they were counting on, and that show started exactly when it was supposed to start. And they tend to do that kind of thing. So Marshall Monday is not typically the kind of event you want to reach late for because you will miss things. So I don't know what went wrong there. And I don't know who's J Upscale. Who the hell is J Upscale? There are many challenges to preparing a stadium. There are many challenges to preparing a stadium that was designed for sport to be ready to host concerts of this magnitude. Listen. I started this episode not understanding women in International Women's Day, right? But I started to understand women now because this song is like a man apology. I don't like the term mansplaining, no, but this song is like this kind of thing I say when I know I'm dead to rights and I have no excuse at all and I had to say something. J Upscale, all didn't know the thing was in the stadium that was designed for sports. Marshall, you've been doing, I don't know who's J Upscale. But Monk Music and Marshall Montano have been using this Hazley Crawford Stadium for the past, since Hazley Crawford win the gold medal, they've been using this stadium. Let me put it that way, right? So what do you mean preparing an event for this magnitude? All they have a show this magnitude every year for years. Anyway, from the outset, the safety of our patrons is always our first priority. The stadium is the only venue that can accommodate these numbers, and we are grateful to Sport City for this accommodation in light of them working on its refurbishing. The stadium contractors, the sporting fraternity, and all of the show service providers try to deliver our best while being very cognizant of protecting the property and pay. Listen, this is the only worst apology that I ever seen in my life. We didn't have the build out time that we would usually have. Listen, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I got confused here. I confused. That's what Marshall price tickets that was quoted in US. I want to go back to that. I don't understand what they're talking about here. No, we didn't have the build out time that we normally have, and due to a track event 7 days before, as a result of the opening time, there was a lot of heavy equipment around the perimeter, and so it's Sport City and them fault. Only saying basically is the people who own the venue, is them fault. Fire services didn't allow us to open our gate, and we are grateful. We are on our mission to present soca to the globe and introduce artists to our culture and unique carnival. Okay, let me read that again. We are on a mission to present soca to the globe and introduce artists to our culture and our unique carnival. Is it? Is that the mission? Is that the reason why I have so much international or foreign artists during the carnival? And I don't even want to say international or foreign artists, or non-soca artists. I was listening to Alternative Perspective, and these guys was breaking this down, right? And I agree with them 100%. there was a time long before alternative concept where when Marshall collaborates with international stars, he used to bring them to perform with him for the carnival season. In the big fets. I talking about before it had all, I talking about in brass and flower and fire and these fets. Maybe not as early as fire, but certainly the ones down in the week, like customs and brass and them things, the international artists used to be here. I remember him doing it with Beanie Man. I remember him doing it with Shaggy, to the point where both Beanie Man and Shaggy were on the road, on the trucks with him them times. I remember one UE Splash in particular where he brought out Walker. You remember Walker? Sometimes I feel I've got to. I remember being in UE car park, in the Oval car park with Walker. This is frenzy time I talking about, when Marshall is an absolute superstar. And bring Walker on the stage and Walker take a little wine and they do the song together. And I would say that is very, very special. And I would also say that would have been a new experience to me in the carnival. Not just Marshall collaborating with international superstars, but bringing them to Trinidad so we could see them perform with him. If you continue to do that, a matter of fact, if he had continued to do that, maybe I would have still be going shows like Marshall Monday and thing. And I'm telling you that Walker and them might have come out. Oh, let me use Shaggy as an example. Shaggy would have performed in Marshall and thing. And like I remember on the road, every time they do, what was it? Toro Toro was the song with Shaggy. And that year was one of the best carnival I ever experienced. Because that year Shaggy was on that truck. Was also Ataclan, KMC, Wayne Rodriguez, the Footsteps Man. All of them was on that truck. But listen, that was something else to see. When them men performing on the road, it was mayhem. That had to be one of the beginning of the end of Marshall and them being on truck on the road. Because security can't control revelers when them men on the truck. But every now and again, after Shaggy sing Toro Toro, he would keep the mic and he might sing, big up, all of the girls, them big up. And give you a little bubbling type tune and them kind of thing. We go like. So if you bring in an artist that you sing a song with, and you perform the song with it, and the man do a little cameo type performance, and he pick out the particular songs that he want to sing, because when you're on the road and you hear, oh, Carolina, let's just picture a woman in costume now when they say, Carolina, that's not Shaggy. Whichever one was Shaggy, right? So Shaggy have a slow song like that. it's a jam dong. It's not a soca, but it fits in with the festival music. But from the time you bring a man, and that man will sing a whole set of song, and I don't enjoy that, and I don't know what that is. But they're saying here that their mission is to present soca to the globe and introduce artists to our culture. So he ain't saying nothing about introducing us to international artists. No, he wants to bring artists to our culture. Okay. Thanks to everyone the world over who came out and filled this stadium. We are grateful and humbled by the support of everyone who attended, as well as the artist performers came together to the showcase. Caribbean, Africa, touchy stage, okay. The show started at 10 p.m. This is the part I want to get to, right? Culture needs its own venue of this size, and as a nation, we must understand that this is our greatest natural resource. Nobody in the world can create stories this rich, produce music this sweet, and gather harmony like this. Team One Show. Now, I am always in support of business. I'm a budding and aspiring 1%er. So this is the reason why I talk about Marshall so much, because I admire what he's done from a business standpoint, not just as an artist. But I have a little bit of difficulty with these types of statements. When you say that culture needs a venue of this size, my question would be, for who and for what? For you. Because there's no other artist or no other promoter that puts on a show of this size in the whole carnival. Other than Monday and Tuesday on the road, there's nothing that could rival Marshall Monday. And this has been the case for many, many years. Brass Festival was quite fine in PSA and in Spectrum when they do it there a few times. They did, well, at least Customs used to be in Spectrum a few times. So, and the stadium has hosted Soca Monarchs, was in stadium, the Oval. All right, so Soca Monarch might be one of them that was maybe as big as Marshall Monday. I have a doubt still in terms of the numbers. Although, yeah, there was one Soca Monarch I went in the Oval that was ridiculously big. But it's kind of funny that you're saying they need a venue of this size when you typically try to rival whatever is the biggest show that might be getting towards the numbers. So your rival Brass, which would have been one of the biggest shows in festival, Your rival Soca Monarch, which was again one of the biggest shows. So I'm a little confused as to when you say we need a venue of this size. Is it just so that you could put on your shows? Because the stadium not designed for shows. That's fine. Starting an hour late or whatever. That is all them things is on you. Several types of events are held at the stadium, big concerts. I think Buju and Kokoti and them coming again. I want to believe that the stadium, if it's not the stadium, is the Savannah. So if it is you want to do a venture as a private business person, invest in yourself, do the thing. Like how it become when your thing falter and didn't do well and your organization was poor? Because beyond getting in the gate and thing like Marshall, you did one show for the season and your voice was going on the stage. You don't sing. You's a man don't sing. You don't perform again. You just have a whole vocal track backing up everything you're saying. Down to the hui and the and all them things. You put it on a track behind you. So, one show, your voice gone. Men sing whole season. I see Voice sing whole season. Voice make a post, right? Where he was talking about breakfast is his performance and difficulties he was having then. And he sing a cappella. And he say, boy, I was so surprised I could have made singing this song a cappella. Voice sing whole season and do Thursday Night Live and thing. And come out and sing this Sunday. So what the stadium mash up your voice too, Marshall? I don't know. Are we seeing somebody who is past his prime? Are we seeing somebody who is on the decline and trading on past performance? You know what I mean? Are we watching Jordan versus LeBron when you watch Voice? Because Voice and them going on a big show, Kess and them do their show down in South and they had issues too. But this apology, a little watery and weak. And it's like, dude, you do one show. if you're doing one show and you can't get the one show right, don't come to tell me about the stadium and it's Hazley Crawford and Hazley Crawford didn't run fast enough and all these kind of things. And all that is the reason why your show wasn't good. If the show wasn't good, the show wasn't good. And I'm eager to see what he does next year and how he approaches this, because you are still the biggest draw or one of the biggest draws in the carnival. And for some reason, possibly to promote your one show, you decide that you're not performing. We's fans too, we's patrons, we's your customers. I want to go soca and see you. I want to come breakfasts and see you again. But you decide that the only way to see Marshall is to come and pay you premium dollar to come a show. And then the show flop and poorly organized. So next time you're doing an apology, maybe stick to one page. Though I'm scrolling through Instagram too and swiping 2-3 times to see a whole apology. And just make it one paragraph now. Say, boys, here now, we bakery treats out the thing, we bakery treats it. And it's either we closing down or we coming back better. What again started to talk about? We here long enough again. Also here now. You really feel like I go to work today, or I don't know me out there the whole time. Should I talk about NCW and them now? Again, you see, this is social media people who just want to get on bad when they do things. I can't take talking about them too much, what. For those of you who don't know or might know the social media back and all, or who might be watching train wrecks all day long like me, if only a thing to do in real life and I just playing the fool all day. There's a social media, what you call people? They don't like the word comedian, right? But he's a social media comedian. This is not a new debate, because when you watch it in the States, like a lot of the stand-up comedians talk about the social media comedians and say, well, they're not funny, and then if you never come on a stage, and I don't find so. I find the people who make meme and the people who come on social media and mimic situations, I find them funny. I find some of them real funny. Like I always say that one of the main reasons I don't cuss on this podcast, I cuss button, and 2 words come out of my mouth is cuss. Well, beyond the fact that my family is listening. And I don't like to cuss in front of my family and things. I mean, I have a little modicum of respect and so on. But I always remember hearing Kivo talk about him doing his first set of skits. And his mother say, yes, I like it, but I mean, this is what you're representing. This is how you're representing yourself. You have to be cussing and carrying on. So if you can't cuss without being funny, are you really funny? Or something like that, to that extent Kivo had said. And that always stood out to me, because Kivo funny. And he don't want to be cussing down the place to be funny and them kind of things. So I always look at. So I find it funny. I find it decent. I mean, you go through a rough day and you tell me you pick up your phone and scroll through Instagram and TikTok and appreciate some of the content that these people put out on a daily basis. But the comedians sometimes, like the genuine comedians or stand-up comedians like Rachel Price or the ones in the States, have a problem with the ones who do it on social media and then call themselves comedians. And that problem started to come up because NCW, if you don't know him, he's a man who's make videos basically watching other people content and say, oh, shame's mad thing, and make a little commentary about whatever happening. And listen, it's be funny because one of the things is that I would not always know the bacchanal that happening on social media unless it's somebody like NCW pull it up. And then if it's funny enough, I might go and watch your pay. I always remember one of the videos he do that make him very, very popular too was my good boy Goofy from Fatima. Salute my boy Goofy. Of Fatima Alam and 96.1 announcer. And Goofy had a little situation with a woman. You know, I mean, we've been in these situations before where sometimes you watch a woman movements, you know. Sometimes I tell you, I just be grateful for the little slices, but sometimes the little slices of the cherry on top and you just get tired bad. You understand what I'm saying? Woman, don't go again, make her wrong. They're talking to fellas now. You know when you get it cherry on top and it's so sweet. Like you can't leave. Like Goofy went through a situation like that. Hey, thank God I grew up anytime I grew up too, you know, because I glad it didn't have no phone to record me with the garbage I used to be doing. But Goofy looked like he outside the woman place and hiding in the bush. When the woman come up with the car, he jump out the bush to ask the woman where you went, how long you went. It looked bad. I don't know who, but no, the woman was recording him and he recorded the woman and it come out, right? Only let me do record one another, man. Let me record one another for enjoyment now, man. And we laugh about that. Why it had to be a public thing? But anyway, he did a video about that, mimicking how Goofy was crying. And well, not crying, but stalking the woman or whatsoever it is. And he popular. Anything happen on social media, he go make a little joke out of it, which we just like. And again, going back to my boy Dave Chappelle, say everything it could be funny unless it happened to us. That's the real thing too. When something happened to you, you doesn't find it funny, but we could all admit that one of the ways is realize that you get over something is when you could laugh at it. You could laugh at yourself. You know, when you're going through a situation, it's be heavy, you know. But sometimes when you think past, you just be able to look back at it and laugh. All situations. So comedians are something important. So NCW advancing his career, because I could tell you that one of the more difficult things is trying to figure out, okay, so I come here and do a podcast every week. I enjoy it. I like doing it. I like getting feedback. I like the fact that now a lot more people who I don't know listen to it and give me feedback about it. I like that. But I had to figure out now, how do I monetize that? Somebody was telling me do a Patreon page and charge people $5 to come on. I don't know. I will figure that out on my own. When I figure that out, I will, you know. But you have to figure out how to monetize things. If you doing this as a business, it's hard to find the time to come and do this every time. Sometimes the researchers take a long time. It take a lot out of me to do it. And it's at personal risk. Because I come here and talk about what's you can talk about NCW, and the next one then pick up thing what I do and I ain't problems, right? So you would want to feel like somebody who have a much bigger platform than me and people like NCW and them, they must be trying to figure out how do I monetize this following. Everybody on social media doing that. And one of the ways he does it is by printing his jerseys and things. And even when he print the jerseys, he's print things that was part of his commentary, like Mako and Hush or Mad Thing or whatever. And I saw in following him how he had some little activist thing in him, because during COVID he was anti-vaccine and he used to come out and march and tell people stand up for things. And I started seeing a different side of him, which any person has multiple sides. So I don't see why a social media influencer or comedian would be any different. But the man figured out a way to monetize the thing. He said, boy, let me pull together other people who have a very big following, like Matara French, Natty Royale, Giuliano. I don't know the midget. You could say midget? I think he named my uncle something. Swizzle Stick. Swizzle Stick funny. Swizzle Stick have a big following. And he just being himself, you know. But he's just funny. The Cuban dude who just say, I want money in Trinidad woman. And, you know what I mean? He's funny too, Mr. Miss. So he pulled together a squad who is basically what he calls social media Avengers. And I find it makes sense, because if I have a following, I would say this, right? Sometimes your following want to see you monetize, because you know you're following something like Joe Budden is a good example for me. I want to see Joe Budden successful and make all the money in the world, because brother, when I turn on night thing Saturday morning, I put on my phone and I had to go and exercise. I want to see that next episode there. I don't want to hear that he doing something else. I'll be real disappointed if that podcast stops. You know, your favorite show is watching TV. You want to watch the show. It's the same with social media people too. So I would want to see them do good. So the fact that I see him pull it together, you know, the 1% in me like that. He pulled together the squad, and then he started doing little shows and them kind of thing. And what I like most about the way he approached his show is that he could have simply charge people money, and when you come, you just get to see them talk like how they normally talk, or you get to hear Matara cuss and carry on or whatever. He could have do that, but he seemed to be doing more, more theater type production. And then I realized, but wait, and then he has Swappy performing and Ziggy Rank. Is this Ziggy Rankin? He had people performing, right? And I find that's real good because then it started to resemble a kind of Yangatang style for me, where everybody on Yangatang wasn't genuine stand-up comedians or anything like that. Sometimes there's actors, actresses, they do little skits and them kind of thing. And when you look at it, social media it's skits too. Like when you watch Major Hype, as I'm saying, that's sorry to hear. I mean, Major Hype, they say he lock up for the same issue with him and his wife. I mean, it's sad, but you watch Major Hype do little skits and thing. Them things used to be funny, little Mitzi and little what's the Spanish one he used to do on a Wednesday again. I used to lift my spirits. I used to look forward to your little character on a Wednesday and thing. Them things good, and your supporters might want to genuinely support, and your fans might want to genuinely support or financially support you, just so that they could see you around tomorrow. And when I saw him do that show in South and the show sell out, I find it was real good. I find it was like, it's like, I salute them kind of things. Like, you figure out how to make something into a business. I don't know if nobody hustling. Wherever a man figure out how to make money, I like that. I find that's good. It's hard to make money. If you figure that out, you're good. But the NCW himself have a little, I guess he had to be a little bit of a back analyst to do this. So he has some of that. So within the success that he started to achieve, I find like he started to pelt some shots at some people, because I saw Rachel Price and one of my other favorite influencers or social media people. So I like a train record. One of my other favorite people is a fellow by the name of Kevin, aka River Witch, aka Maureen, aka Young Boss. I really had nothing to do any day coming. When you think, well, I had nothing to do any day coming, because let me tell you something. When them first go, all he's do is cuss people stink. I don't know that he's do anything else. I don't know that he's have a whole lot of edifying conversation and thing. Maybe I need to see this therapist in real, because it's distractions I'm looking for, and I just take him in and listen. That man is cuss. I can't take it all the time, but when I could take it and I could do that break, pause, I just take it in and hear what he had to say. So he and Rachel Price seem to be good. Two of them have a issue with ranking Kia, if you remember ranking Kia back in the day. And women, all they could come back in now. We done bad talk all. Yeah, ranking Kia back and forth with them, and and Rachel Price said on one of her lives that, I don't understand how some people calling themselves comedian. I on stage for how much a years, and she's been there since the Calypso 10 days since after sprung along, and them days Rachel Price and don't know come, right? And she could handle it on a stage. She could be on any stage anywhere and do fine, you understand? So just like the other foreign comedians talking about social media people, Rachel Price seemed to take a shot at the social media people too. Now, if you ask me, I don't think she was talking about NCW. There was another show coming up with another comedian who to me is a genuine stand-up comedian by the name of Junior Lee, I believe. He has some little digital contract and them thing. He was putting on a show as well, and his shows to me is do well, you know what I mean? It seems as though those shows sell out and thing. Now, them is younger people. I mean, going to leave home to see he do no comedy. But that man had to leave home too, so I don't, there's no knock on him. But he have his audience and they building something. Same thing I say about these youths, you know, they seem to be connected to Regrello and them and South. Everybody's working together to make sure they boost up one another. We're gonna be in a world where we see these kind of rivals, this rivalry thing disappear, you know, because the entertainers working together in a way that would not be the case in our generation or the generations before. But if you ask me, I think Rachel Price was really talking about them, like how them calling themselves comedian, what them do, where's the credentials, where they come out, how all of a sudden you now pick up a mic for the first time and go on stage and you turn comedian. That I think she was talking about them. But because NCW sees himself as a comedian and sees himself as the next best thing or the hottest thing in the streets because he have a show that sell out, he pick up that fire rage and start to attack Rachel Price. No, I don't ever feel that's a good idea, because number one, Rachel Price and them is genuine comedians, and they could embarrass you. They have a bigger platform than you, and they could embarrass you, right? and and she's been around for much longer, and she could embarrass you. But I guess it's useful to do that too, because if she talking about you, it will help build up your own profile. So I assume it's a business move by NCW. But fast forward to today. He had a show in Tobago before the carnival, and I really find some strange things was going on. I remember seeing Army Fet do a kind of sale. You know what I mean? If you buy 5 tickets, you get an army uniform. And if you buy 10 tickets, you get a SLR and a thing. And if you buy 20 tickets, they make you an officer in the army. Army had some sale on the tickets and things during carnival season, which indicates to me that tickets are selling as they thought they would have. And I was watching NCW and I realized like this Tobago show not going to do good. As good as the South show. Now, if you know anybody who ever do promotions before, Tobago is a different thing. You cannot just have something that was real good and sell out in Trinidad and say, right, we go do it in Tobago. It is hard. People just talk about that with North and South. Like I saw I can't remember the man's name, a thespian, you know what I mean, doing a theater thing. And he did a show in South and he did one in Tongue. And he was saying that he never doing nothing in South again. He says South people, all they just say how he's only do thing in Tongue and all he's got to drive so far. And I come and I invest my money and I do my thing in South and nobody in turn up. And South is a unique audience to South. People come out to thing late. When you see you do show and so any promoter will tell you, people all 10, 11, 12, you're feeling like your thing bus and all 1 o'clock with the place full out. South people move late. So every little area have its own nuance and do your thing. But I was glad to see you went to Tobago because then it started to remind me of how the comedy outside of the Calypso tent, the comedy fest and them things used to move around and do shows in different areas and those types of things. Even my father was talking to me about that, about Calypso tent. He said one of the reasons the Calypso tent was so big is because the Calypso tent used to do a roving tent where they don't just sit down on Rice Road and do the tennis kitchen tent. They might go down Maruga, they attend that night, they would go down different areas. And I don't know how profitable that would be now, but it's good to see those types of things because once those things touch in the community, I feel you're making a bigger difference and you're building a following, like Rachel Price would have done over the years, right? But the show in Tobago was empty. Because NCW, man, like to laugh at people or make people the butt of the joke, like Goofy. People is be waiting to laugh at you. As a man who like to talk a lot of chat, I know my time. Everybody time coming when people hold you, you're gonna get burned. Burn is what I said, right? That's just the reality. That's just the reality. If you like to make joke and you like to laugh at people and think you had to be prepared to be laughed at. And what I don't understand, especially with NCW being a funny dude, like why not just make videos of yourself? You could come out and see, like my show flop, like beat the other. Like so, like Kevin I was telling you about is he go and cuss stink and make it. Listen, it bad. Don't go and say you follow Kevin because of me. I'm telling you outright that it might not be the easiest thing for you to listen to. But when he said a cuss, it's entertaining to me. I like it. And then they have a youth from South named Street Cred too, who is he's do parody videos too. They're funny. They're funny. Like he's play Alexander. I forget what he's called himself when he play Alexander, but I don't know why that's so funny. I can't tell you exactly. It's something about it just funny when he do it. Just random scenes. It's just he walking and dress up as Alexander. And Alexander one time buy some jersey from him that he's make for, you know what I mean? He's make jerseys to sell too, just like NCW. And you see he and Alexander link up and to me that nice. You know what I mean? I like that. He's a comedian. Alexander ain't looking like he taking nothing too personally. He go with it. But any scene happening in the country on a day, I don't know how he's so quick with videos. Like he like me, he hasn't do any day come neither because something happened now in about an hour. He have a video saying we have footage of the thing and he reenact it and make his own little skit and thing. I like that. I find that is good. But you as NCW who doing all these things about people, from the time you see something happen to somebody, you have some funny thing to come up with. And you throw a bus show and you make a video about yourself. Listen, I find he missed a golden opportunity, but I realize he reached any point now where he taking everything and everybody too seriously, including himself. Because the man saying, when you come to comment about him on his page, he heavily blocks and deletes. He blocks and deletes. You know what I mean? He say, I blocks and deletes. Everybody knows I heavily blocks and deletes. So his solution to this thing is to don't say nothing about him. And then I was watching this week where it was royal for him. He had a rough time because Matara ended up in a cuss out and thing. The Cubano fella had one black face and he didn't know that was offensive, so that was a scene. Mr. Miss, we also make videos making Mr. Miss. Mr. Miss is a guy who, well, I mean, get into too deep about this. No, Mr. Miss is a social media personality, right? The fact that his nickname is Mr. Miss, you go and work that out for yourself. But I remember NCW doing videos about him, and he was real vexed about it and telling him stop talking about me. But he ended up in a whole scene with Anthony, and apparently he, like Kizelle Jackson, gave sex tapes leaked this week, so it was bad. And NCW seemed to want to defend these people and make sure, like, when people trying to turn their lives around, nobody have nothing good to say about them. And I was like, brother, you serious? Like, you doing this for a long time? Like, why you don't make your own skits out of the things that happening right in front of you? Like, you're getting the best material you could possibly get, and you're wasting time arguing with people trying to play like you, trying to save all these people. Like, I brought these people together and we have a vision to make the place a better place and all them things. And it fast forward to the point where these folks went to a school. And when I say these folks, they're rolling together right through, particularly NCW, Matara French, and Swizzle Stick. Rolling together right through. And they went into a school, I believe it was Caripichaimo, secondary school, I believe, right? And when they went into the school, the other comedians around him, who dare to make jokes too, obviously pick up that and make jokes about you. Because if them is comedians, they would have made joke about thing anyway. But if them is comedian and them is your enemy, they're gonna make real jokes. Like, wait, I don't understand what it is you're expecting. They're gonna go live and you're gonna get roasted immediately. So people was questioning whether Matara and them should be in school and whether she's a role model. If you don't know Matara French, like, Matara French is cuss. According to Ian Allen, she's cussing in worst of ways. Let me tell you something. When Ian Allen telling me he is cussing in worst of ways, he is cussing. Matara not easy to listen to. Again, if you're not into this kind of thing, don't go looking for this thing. And so just take my word for it, right? If you're into this thing, go on TikTok and look up for Matara. Matara is cussing people stink. I learned about Matara when I was teaching an e-commerce class and I was dealing with social media. And somebody told me, check out Matara French. As I was talking about influencers, right? And the woman said, like, Matara. And I didn't understand what that was, right? But I see the Matara page on Instagram, and since then I've been following Matara. And when I see the following and what she doing, and she have a little ads and things, I say, well, right. I just stop saying little when I talk about people thinking, she have her ads and stuff. And she seems to be doing good, turning the following into a monetizing it then. But if your heart is strong and your ears ain't strong, don't go and listen to that, because she cussing people black is white about anything anybody come around and think she good ghetto. She talks slow. She's pronounced one word at a time with the most effort you ever see somebody put into saying words. I've never seen anything like that. And I remember the first time I watched her, I was like, this woman went and bust her blood vessel. She's be angry in real life. And she had several viral moments, plenty over the years. And one of the first ones I see was jalapeno, when she was trying to say jalapeno peppers. And I mean, funny enough to me, I like it. I I like the ratchetness. It's give me a lot. Yeah, I like it. Right? So the question is, should people like her and him be in schools? I don't know if he's not like that, right? You don't cuss like that or cuss people like that. His content's a little clean. I mean, it ain't clean. But it's not as obscene as Kevon and Matara. Kevon and Matara is the two biggest cuss, but I never seen nothing like this in my life. And I like it. But I just want to explore that question of should they be in schools? And this is not a new thing, because I remember this coming up the other day when Bubbles went in a school and people was vexed that Bubbles come in his school, and what is Bubbles was saying if you're Bubbles and Escata, right? Because I mean, Bubbles' music can be X-rated. It is very adult in the content that Bubbles comes with. And I will say that Matara content is very adult. Kevon content is very adult. And them fellas who are attacking him, or making fun of him, I should say, one of their main points was that I's a whole cuss bud. Kevon was saying I's a whole cuss bud. I's a whole from a long time. I come out and me ain't going to no school to talk to no school children. And boy, to tell you the truth, my first question was, well, why not? what we think school children is? School children is some kind of thing that mustn't hear, not all. But I don't believe in that. You know. So, for instance, when I saw bubbles in the school and thing, and people was upset, I think in themselves, so what they feel bubbles going to cuss the school children and make that. I don't know. I don't know that when as a school child you would just see bubbles and automatically you turn a I was going to say bad thing, but I don't want to make it sound like bubbles are a bad thing. Or you see Matara and you automatically start to cuss. And one of my things is that these school children watching Matara, and you cannot keep up with these social media influencers like these youths. You know? So if you feel your child going to school and then you're so outraged by the fact that Matara was in his school, like if them don't, I want you to go online and watch the reaction to Matara walking into a school. I remember when I was in Fatima and Lara coming in Fatima, school done, you know. I'm not comparing the two people, right? I'm just saying that when somebody who you like and revere and who you hold as celebrity walk into a school is cause mayhem. And that the same reaction we was having to Lara back in the day, and we was boys in a boys' school, is the reaction Matara again when she walking into schools. Now that must feel good as a boy. She must feel great. She must feel like she make 375 runs herself, right? But my deeper question is what the question of role models. I don't think Matara is not necessarily deliberately a role model, but the reality is that once you put yourself out there and you're doing things, you're probably influencing everybody who you're talking to in different ways, particularly impressionable minds, right? I'm trying to be careful with my language here, but you're a role model whether you like it or not. But I do feel as though in defense of NCW and Matara came out and talked about it too. And don't mind when she talk about it and saying why she should be in schools and how long she been in schools and she gave me a backpack and them. Don't mind she started to cuss heavy in the schools. I go tell them how I take man. You take money from man. And I will say, don't take no man like me. I was like, all right, Matara, all right. This is exactly the problem. This is what issue people have. And she cussed and she telling you which part she take the man and them too. You know what I mean? It was bad. And of course, NCW called in one time to do all the damage control and get her off the live and thing. I mean, he might be a good influence on her life too. But I remember, I also saw one time Temper went back to her school, which was Tranquil, which was a school I went to as well, right? And Temper is singing adult music. Very, very adult music Temper is singing. You know what I mean? Temper whole persona and style is geared towards adults and not children. But it's the youths and them picking up this music long before we anyway. Totally not us, right? But one of the things I enjoyed about seeing that video was how Temper went, and Temper looking like a school child herself. As she going in the school, the backpack and thing. If she put on a uniform, she will not look like no adult. She looking like a child too. But one of the things that stood out to me in that video was when she went to her teacher, the teacher said, in the most genuine way, she hugged her up and she said, Temper, I am so proud of you. I feel good about that, you know. Like I saying it now, I'm going to pause raise it. When your teacher, especially when the teacher was watching you like how they used to watch me, like you ain't go among to nothing in life. Sometimes them teachers and them will be so relieved when them see you again, or they're so proud to see that you do something good with your life. And it mightn't be Temper, you know, priest. She's a priestess, but she, you know what I mean? It's not a doctor or lawyer, but she finds some kind of success in life. Now, how she find the success, you might debate whether that is good or not, or is moral or not, and that is up to you in your own debate, right? But if she find a way, why we mustn't celebrate that, or why the teacher mustn't feel good about that? If teacher feels so proud, and you could see Temper feel good for a teacher, you tell me this. If you go back to your school now, you could have been doing good in school, you're doing bad, you're big and old, whatever your age is, if you're Charlene and them age and all. When you bounce up a teacher, and the teacher tell you, gosh, I'm so proud of you. You will feel good. You must feel good in your heart when a teacher tell you that, or any person who you used to look up to. And I feel like if we sometimes, because of the way people, our own moral compass, then we kind of dismiss people as this is what they are, this is what they will always be, and we must keep them away from our children at all costs and them kind of thing. When in fact, some of these people I talking about here who cussing and carrying on online might have a greater influence on your children than you as a parent, or the people who you feel they should be influenced by when you take them to auntie and uncle, or the church, or the community, or whatever it might be. Especially in this era, the social media influencers might have a bigger voice to your children than anybody else. So if you have a social media influencer who is willing And this is what I will say about Matara. It seems as though she's willing to go and talk about her own life and the mistakes she made and the things that she did and continues to do and why they shouldn't do it. I kind of don't see why not let them talk to the children. The children are not stupid. They see it for what it is. I watch all kind of people do all kind of things. Like, you know what I used to watch? My mother listens, so I can't tell her like I think I used to watch. But I never, it's not like I watch that and I go just start to do what them this do. I telling you now that I have serious responsibilities when the day come. I have a class going on, our papers to correct whole week, our podcast to produce, our child to mind, our family, our business. And I still taking time out of my day to watch the great Kevin cuss people online. Black is white. Hamil, I like that. That don't mean I gonna turn into that tomorrow. I don't want that for my life, but I could surely be entertained by it. And that is it. So teenage children, not stupid. They have their own ambition and their own dreams, but they like little entertainment and lacquery and kankalang just like the other person. So they will follow these people. So I don't see why we might not leave space, because every message that a child hear couldn't come from somebody who is pious and has done everything right in life. Some of these children will not listen to people. So if I go in school as a man myself who did everything right in life and I go to talk, you know how boring that would be to them? You go and like come and play this podcast and carry picture, man. Try to get children to change their life and see what happens. But when Matara walk in and they start a ball and they carry on and saying, oh, NCW walk in and they know him from social media and they start a ball and carry on. When NCW come there and say, boy, let's study all your book. Or let's do this, you know what I mean? Or Matara come and say, listen, this is what I do. This is how I get there. This is, let me tell you, you take back yourself to when you was a young teenager or whatsoever, secondary school ages. When you hear people who come to talk to you, what you used to know, they say you're real, they come to realness, you know what I mean? They're telling their stories about whether it is they would take a part in life, they end up in jail, they end up in, wherever it might be. You know how glued these youths must be to them stories? Like, what? And some of them go get frightened like hell and say, boy, nah, that is not for me. And some of them will say, boy, I like that. I'm going online and I want to be what Matara is. Because you ask any one of these youths now what they want to be, all of them going to tell you YouTuber and Instagram, whatever the thing is. That's our genuine ambition now as a job. So when you meet an influencer, there's so much that in my humble opinion, that Matara could share with anybody that I don't know why we just automatically dismiss it. I understand why it would not look good and you might feel that the content that these people put out not edifying. But I would think there are better ways to figure out how to work with them. Like talk to Matara. Like we have people as counselors in ministries and stuff. And some of the counselors will tell you, about the way they carry across the message. I just remember I spoke to a guy by the name of Sule who deals with school children back in the day. In the early days of starting to talk to people on this podcast. And it was so interesting him talking to me about dealing with school children all the time as being a counselor and that kind. I believe he's a counselor. And he was talking about how you carry the message across and who the children will listen to. And I could tell you, the children, especially the ones who you want to influence the most or who you might be feeling going in the wrong direction, they don't want to listen to the whole cornball me. You know what I mean? Coming to tell them about this and go to they can't even hear that. They're not going to listen to any of that. So I feel like we have an opportunity in people who actually have influence over these children to come and talk to them as counselors and people who train professionals and so on. We might be able to help guide somebody like Matara as to, okay, this is what you do when you come in school. This is what you wear. This is how we want you to present it. If this is something you're interested in, let us help you to get, because we all have the same destination. We want the child who, like myself, I was a delinquent child in Fatima. We want to help them see something different or see a different path. And I see it as similar. I'll never forget meeting Wayne Chance for the first time, right? Wayne Chance he used to have vision and mission as an ex-prisoner, talking to people about how to stay out of that system or talking to prisoners to help them reintegrate into the world. Or he did a lot of work helping deportees reintegrate into Trinidad. I met him, this is outside of school life, right? I met him in TSTT. He came to apply for a phone for vision and mission. It was Wayne Chance and a fellow named Anderson who came together. And I remember I didn't know who he was at all. But when he talking about vision and mission and he applying for the phone and stuff, and he quickly tell me he's an ex-convict, and I frightened immediately. I was like, what is this going on here? Because he had an aggressive way of talking. He's a tall fella. You have a plenty presence and thing. And it was a lot of aggression. He was very angry. Mr. Shepard, I have a phone. And TSCT them days ain't installing people's phone on time. So every time I see, I say, oh God, here we go. It's allowed up here again. But I always remember seeing him years after he applied for that phone. And to me, if he applied for that phone that time, he must be fresh out. You know what I mean? He's smelling the jail on him. And he went through and did his work with Vision and Mission. I always admire what he was able to achieve. And I would always listen to him on I-95.5 to hear his stories. Because to me, conquest and success is never really a smooth road. You're going to have bumps, you're going to have bruises. And some of the most interesting stories is from the people who have the most bumps and bruises. Because if I come here and talk every week to people who born and they had a whole lot of money and their parents send them to Ivy League schools and they take the Ivy League education and they bring and then they open a factory selling water. And not saying that those are not interesting stories, but I can tell you it's much more interesting to listen to somebody who struggled, didn't have nothing, their parents didn't come from nowhere, they sell their body to make a little money and they turn around. They like them stories is make you feel like me. It's make me feel like I could accomplish anything. When I hear certain people say what they've been through, I was like, what? So I just putting it out there that the Errol Fabians of this world, the Garth and Natasha Sinclair, who openly, I love to see Garth Sinclair. Anything he do, I follow him. Because he would have gone through, I remember him talking about stealing all the wares out of his mother cabinet, but he used to leave the ones in front to make the woman still feel it's still her wares to sell, to buy coke. And he now is a radio personality interviewing other people who are issues, helping people who have problems. And what I like about him the most, when he go on the fitness thing, you can't keep up with Garth. You know, Garth have a tire there. When he started to hit that tire and flip, you can't keep up with him. And I that's something that I admire. Looking at him, and he and Natasha married now, and they talk openly about their struggles and things. I admire that. Like, that is something that that is a story that I would love to listen to. And I have a son who is 10 years old. And I would love for him to talk to a Wayne Chance or Errol Fabian or Garth and Natasha, because while I don't see him going down that road now, but I was telling Stacey just the other day, but exactly going to a teenager just now is a different child we have on our hand. You give him guidance and you mold him or whatever you want to say about, but I don't know what choices he'll make, what friends he'll make, and what he will do. The most I always tell him is just, listen, anything I'm telling you, call your father, don't call your mother, because your mother, I go pay the bill, whatever it is, I come in. Don't hesitate, I go be there. But you don't know what you're trying to tell. So I find it so nice that people like, and even the word people like, because they have something NCW doing that I don't like at all. When he defended Matara, I find he's put down Matara. So he even put out a written statement. But in this statement, he had to put, he represented Matara, but Matara have this ugly past which continues to rear its head. I don't like statements like that, you know. We all have our human experience. All of us have things that we would wish nobody do find out about us. All of us have things that we've done that we are ashamed of and we wouldn't like. And if I could go back in time, I might do it differently. But the nice thing about it is, all of we still here. And it's so nice when you go through the worst of things in life to turn around and it has somebody there to support you. Remember I was saying earlier, one of the times in life you realize that everything okay is when you're able to laugh. Well, I always talk about my partner Many Faces where that is concerned, because he gonna get you to that laughing point faster than anybody else. When you're going through something and you're frightened, you're worried, you're disappointed, you're ashamed, you're embarrassed, and boy, listen, that is one of my friends who is show up. He's going to physically come there. I don't want nobody to come in. I remember one time dealing a medical issue, dealing with it, and it's bad. It turned out to be just an abscess in a tooth, right? But my whole face was swollen and everything. I can't even open my mouth to chew. And while I'm looking like that, the doctor told me I need a HIV test. I had no reason to be violently ill. So I dealing with all kind of thing in my mind there at the point in time. And people coming to check me, and I didn't want to come out, but my mother concerned. And now that I look back at it, I could see how worried my mother was. You don't always see it in the moment, you know. And like with that worry and thing, Many Faces insist I had to come out. But the way I looking, I don't want nobody to see me. My whole face swollen and thing, I looking like that while waiting on HIV results. Now good combination. And Many Faces He don't know the whole story. All he know is I sick bad and me ain't seeing nobody. I ain't talking to Colonel. None of my close friends. I'm not talking to them. And this man show by my gate. And my mother come. She said, Corey, come and talk to him. The boy come to look for you. This, that. I say, all right, mommy, I'm coming. And I shame, I feeling a way to come and let somebody see me the way I looking, boy. And when I walk out the thing, when I see that man say, oh God, Solia, watch your face, boy, like the AIDS acting up. You know, what with all the worry and the fear and everything I deal with in the moment, I can't even, you know, when I laugh, I have to hold my face. First it's soul, when I laugh, I say, soul, don't make me laugh, don't make. And we sit down there and we talk, and it make it, sometimes them little things make you realize everything gonna be all right. So I don't like when people use things like the ugly past. And what is the ugly past? What the hell is the ugly past? Everybody dealing with things. People is just people. People having a whole human experience. It's just who we are. So I feel like people, and I want to take it away from Matara for a while, right? But people who've been through a lot in life that and take a different path or had a rough life, they may have some of the best stories to tell in the world. They may find inspiration. This is one of the things I always compare Tranquil to Fatima about. Tranquil, for me, I did O-levels in Fatima and repeat, and still didn't get enough passes to go A-levels, so I had to go and do A-levels somewhere else, and I went Tranquil to do it and repeat. But Tranquil had a level of exposure that was different to Fatima. So I remember in Tranquil, they used to bring people to talk to us all the time. They carry us on a field trip to the stock exchange, you know, and I always felt like that is what children need, or young people, especially young people who don't have a whole lot of guidance at home. If they're seeing different things, somewhat like I rarely take to the stock exchange. When I went to that stock exchange, I was like, what? You could put in money here and them is getting more money based on the money that you put in, and you had to do nothing. I had always like that. And some people would have been in those sessions bored. But if it carries a different type of session, like I remember once going to sort of a expo thing. I think it was Nihus used to do this expo thing somewhere close to Maloney there, if I remember right. Some people might take to that and they might get into the sciences, but the more exposure you have outside of just the math, English, social studies, and all the science and all this thing. So if you give people exposure, you have a better chance. So there might be somebody there who like Mataro. And let me face the reality too. There's somebody who will pattern themselves after Mataro and Kevin and they go, cuss stink. But they also have people who might try to understand, okay, how you post on social media so often, like what you do, how you do your videos, how you set up everything, how you understand it, or somebody like Kevin who's do hosting for Racial Price. A man might ask you, well, how you get into that? Like there's something I always like with hosting and thing. It might not have anything to do with that, but I'm not sure that the way to go is to condemn, both for the people who condemning them, not separate from the people who making joke, right? The comedians who making joke, they should make jokes about them, and NCAA should make jokes about this himself. If you're smart, either use this for content. But I also just want to temper that as well by saying that all the ministry did was put out a statement saying they're going to investigate the kind of people that are going into the school, which Nine Gods be Dolly right to do. she should investigate it, and she should try to figure out who are these people and how was it reinforce or revisit the process that it takes to get people to come into schools to talk. I don't think at anywhere in her statement she said these people mustn't be in the school or we don't want this. She said that, she said a video showing the participation of social media personality at school on February 9 came to the attention in the ministry. The ministry investigated the circumstances surrounding the matter, and at that time wishes to advise that no request for approval was made to include this social media personality in a school event. As such, the participation was not sanctioned by the ministry. So they didn't really come out and say that, hey, all you don't belong in schools. And they just said this was not sanctioned by the ministry. It is what it is. And they're supposed to be sanctioned by the ministry because the ministry, through the guidance counselors and people like Sule and so on, may want to contribute and intervene if certain. So let's assume a man who have a very murderous past, let me use a harsh example, right? Is to go in school and talk. I would think that the ministry wants some say over how this will be done, how will this be presented to the school and so on, or if it could be done or not, which I in full agreement with, but NCAA and them seem to have gone on the defensive about it immediately, and I guess that's what influence. So, that's part of the gig, you know what I mean? The victim role is real. I ain't talking about UNC and that whole human trafficking thing. Let that story continue to unfold where it is. I think we all from Trinidad and Tobago and we know what happened there. It's are certain things that will never be. It's like expecting Pandey and them to get locked up for the airport scandal. Everybody in this country involved. Anything that is make good money, people involved in this country on both sides of the fence, if you ask me. Let me talk a little bit about as we talking about the comedians. All they taking Chris Rock special. Chris Rock put out a special on Netflix, the first ever live comedy special taped on Netflix. Well, live showing. I take it in. I think they show it live Saturday night. I couldn't watch it then, but I take it in. And I find people real bashing Chris Rock and saying how bad it was, but I can tell you, like, it was funnier than Tambourine. It was. I don't find the special was that bad, to be honest. I guess everybody was waiting on him to talk about Will Smith, and it's the same thing I say about NCW and the whole victim thing. I like the way Chris Rock handle the Will Smith conversation because he was basically talking about people finding currency in being the victim. And I found that it was a real interesting conversation, and I seeing that going on with NCW now because it's like, dude, the ministry didn't say you all shouldn't be there or anything. The ministry said it wasn't sanctioned, and it's either it was sanctioned or it's not. And if it's not sanctioned, then it's there. So how does it then turn you into a victim who gives you the right to call somebody they have an ugly past that continues to rear ugly head? Is like, I don't know how I feel about that too much. And this was what Chris Rock point was, everybody want to be victim. And he said that he was no victim of the thing. And I mean, he watch his special. I find it was a good special. Don't go and watch it with too much expectations. It is not his best special ever. It is not the best special ever. But it was decent. It was pretty funny. I mean, he said some very real things about abortion. I find it was all right. I will probably watch it again. That's usually the mark of a good special for me, if I could go back to it and watch it again. And Tambourine, I find Tambourine was real disappointed because on Tambourine he had the scandal with his wife when they had just divorced. And I think maybe this is something that Chris Rock, it would be better if he just do specials at random intervals, because it seems as though he's do specials when he have major things happen in his life, and then the expectation is your special gonna be about that. And he don't ever treat with them things too well. I heard Joe Budden and them say something on the podcast. They say he's stuck on an elevator between Kevin Hart and Dave Chappelle. And I feel like it's that too. He's trying to fight with whether to be politically correct or whether to be edgy. And I just feel like, you know what I mean? He's too great a comedian to have to be battling that. Like, say what you want. Say what's the real thing. If everybody tuning in and say about your divorce, treat with that. If everybody come and say about Will Smith, deal with that. But you take it in. I find it was funny enough. In more Netflix news, there's a show by everybody know how I feel about Breaking Bad, right? And with Bryan Cranston being a great actor he is, I ended up bouncing up a show called Your Honor that I started watching, and the new season of Your Honor is out. And I feel Bryan Cranston up there for one of the greatest actors of all time, because his script for Your Honor. Long time I ain't talk about some Netflix stuff, right? That's why I just include these two before I get out here. Your Honor is one of the best series I ever watched. I mean, it's short. I into episode like 6 or 7 in the second season, but they're onto something with Your Honor, and it's in true Bryan Cranston style where he always in a jam and trying to find his way out of that jam and work it out. I don't want to get too much spoilers and stuff, but it's on Showtime or whatever illegal streaming box you have in your house. What's your answer about quick? Soca Warriors playing this week. We're going against Jamaica. I feel like there are a few games in Jamaica. Against Jamaica and Nicaragua, I believe. So I'm hoping that Angus again, you know how I feel about this World Cup, right? 2026. Wait, is it 2026 or 2028? 2026. We're supposed to be qualifying and thing, and Angus, you get back here, professional league. You're getting friendly games and thing. We're expecting to see Trinidad and Tobago team grow from strength to strength. This is what we're here for. We're supposed to be in that next World Cup. So I will take in that, and if you could, try and take it in. They're usually showing the games on TTFA YouTube page. So if you could log on to that and check it out. One of the worrying things that came out of that Soca Warriors or the Trinidad football is the fact that the normalization committee with FIFA is now extended to 2024. I thought by now that if the idea is to normalize to me mean nobody must interfere with nothing going on with football in the country. And if we had to send somebody to normalize that, we had to get everybody out. And I don't understand the issue well enough. But it couldn't possibly take this long. And at some point, they had to say whether Haddad is he in charge of TTFA or not. Because this idea that we still need a normalization committee while we're preparing for a World Cup or in the initial stages of starting the preparation for a World Cup campaign. This seems to me, and nobody is talking about TTFA and the money and the paying of the debt, something. It will be a good time to have somebody elected who run in local football in the best interest of local football and not necessarily in the best interest of FIFA. So that's something that I just a little worried about, mashing up my travel plans for 2026, if you understand what I mean. So I'll continue to the guide. Anyway, we heading towards 2 hours. I wanted to talk about licensing on them, because licensing on them look like they're starting to clamp down now and make some changes in terms of how they're operating. And one of the things I heard on the radio recently is that licensing, when you get too much demerit points, they're coming home by you. They're coming home by you to take back your license, which I find is a good thing. If it is the man who calling on the radio to talk about that, basically, like he trying to say, boy, you see how they're moving and this and that, and the man, a little demerit points they come in for this. I think a little demerit points. It mean you're a reckless driver. You're doing nonsense on your road. Come off. And I also saw them make a post as well saying that if you go on to renew your license and you have unpaid tickets, you will have to pay off plus your late fees before you get back your license. And I think to myself, but this makes perfect sense. I don't understand. Like, people in the comments, this was on Trinidad, is not a real place. People in the comments saying customer service bad and it's supposed you have no money, you're carrying you, like, okay, all that good, right? But listen, if we want to start to get towards developed country status and first world status, these are the things we have to change. No licensing, or there's something to clean up to, because it can't be cash only and money, or you can't be not taking links and credit card in these modern times, or telling people if my jeans have a thing, or if I think I had to put onto Manila envelope to come in. Those things had to fix too. But I like the initiative where the interconnectivity between what the police do on the road where tickets concerned, which is a licensing related issue. They're going back to the office now. So if you have to renew a license, I would love to see when you go to transfer a car, they do the same thing. Pay off your tickets. It is going to be, I always talk about personal responsibility, right? And Trinidad and Tobago not going to change until people take personal responsibility. But the problem is that you cannot leave personal responsibility up to people because they don't care. People are innately selfish. Trinidadians may be a little more selfish than the average person. So one of the things I had to do is manage personal responsibility. And the reality is this. If I know I'm not going to get my license renewed if I have unpaid tickets, I will pay the tickets because I have to. I will take, that's the personal responsibility there. I need the thing, let me take responsibility and pay off the tickets. If I know money to pay off tickets is a problem, I will start to drive better. It's really just a little bit of a cascade effect. So I'm happy to see more things like this coming, because one of the things about living in a first world society that we like to talk about trying to become is that you had to behave in a certain way. And if we're unwilling to behave in a way where we hold ourselves and each other accountable, we will continue to be a little third worldish. But anyway, I just want to play a next song for the woman and get out of here. So I am going to talk to her next week. We're back to Tuesdays from next week, right? Because my sister and them come here, they keep me up late in the night, or 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. I man now go and sleep. Me able them kind of hours, and it take me long at my age to recover. So yeah, right now getting an episode, but from next week, we're back to every Tuesday. So hold this for the happy International Women's Day and Women's Week and so on. Yes.
It was a big bacchanal just the other day with Enid and Shimakume. Big comments the other day with Enid and Shimakume. I ain't want to hear, so I passing straight. A fella pull me and tell me wait. Same time Enid husband get off the bus. Well, it's now the Makume start a cuss. She say, look Enid, remember it's you who say how you have your husband so total babe. Your sweet man does come home in the house too. He could only watch and he can't say, yeah Enid, woman, why you lying on me? Girl, I'm not in your category. And if even self what you said is true, you have a man with your husband too.
It's Emmy, but I felt so shame when I hear she called him my name. He's so shocked, he don't know what to do, so he stand up there listening to. A policeman was right on the beat, run to make an arrest, but the comment sweet. Enid is a big socialist in South. She want to cuss, but she hardly open she mouth. Girl, you should shame to kiss me for true. It's me, Enid, who you talking to. When you were sick in the hospital, I lend you me dress, me 90 and all. What you know about shame, the Makume say. You didn't shame last week Saturday when your husband come home earlier. Instead, you had to hide the man underneath the bed. When the man hear that, he face come pale as mud. If you choke him, you can't get blood. Watching the wife and shaking the head, I say, Lord, well, tonight she dead. And next comments, woman listening shout, hey, hey, mouth open and Tory jump out. This time the Makome put she hand on she waist, and if you see how she getting on in the place, she say, look, in it's better you leave and go. Don't let me talk everything I know, because you and Doris couldn't agree. You tie the child in the girl belly. I don't care what you say to do. I am still mistress in it they do. Bailey fair take back my TV set, and I never thief peas in the market yet. Now the husband shame, he couldn't take no more. He tell the wife, girl, come let we go. He hold she hand and he pulling she, but she tugging away from me. The Makume say, yes, you manny cool. You better take she away for true. She hire so dotish and borrow kid. What she give to rob is that you take and eat. He say, listen, young woman, stop making strife. You want to put me against my wife. In front me face, you're lying on she. My wife ain't have nobody with me. I know that man you are speaking about. That is her cousin who first from South. When he come home with a sleeping tree, sometime I myself does take he for me.
You see, somebody think woman is poor man true, but we still celebrating all year, right? So happy International Women's Day.